to be there and witness this thing, and I've always been fascinated by storms, but this is the first one I got to chase a little bit and document.
How you doing, gentlemen? It's another pontoon cruise on a Thursday afternoon.
I literally almost went and launched a pontoon boat down here at my in-laws' cabin and went and did this live pontoon on the pontoon.
But that would almost be as good as the fake backdrop that B.A.S.S usually shows up with.
Well, that's actually what I was looking for right when the link connected me in. I was actually going to put a lake with a pontoon in the background. I couldn't find a picture like inside of a pontoon.
So we've been getting together and having these essentially bi-weekly chats. If you're just tuning in here, we've had these bi-weekly chats about everything that's really going on in the world of fishing. We're missing two cohorts here today. We're missing Steve B.A.S. and Chad Cool. I did talk to them both this morning. They still may pop into this chat here today. They're up on Lake of the Woods, trying to finish up a Lake Commandos TV program. And I know the bite has been a little bit challenging for them over the last couple of days. So they're working on getting that wrapped up and hoping to hop aboard here at some point. But pretty crazy times.
It's hot. John, I don't know how it is where you're at, but up here it is Alabama hot. We're in central Minnesota visiting my in-laws, and it has been as brutal as it is down south in the summer, as hot as I can remember.
Yeah, Chicago's been hot. It's been in the 90s. I think we've already had as many days in the 90s that we've had combined in the last couple of years, and they're anticipating next week is going to be like 5 or 6, 7 days in a row. And obviously, I kind of follow that in my line of work. I kind of follow that, what's going on with the hot and dry kind of trends, and that's kind of why some of the corn prices are railing a little bit, because they're talking about some hot and dry areas around the country. So yeah, this has kind of been an exceptional year. And Chip, I think you had something that you posted about, fish mortality this time of year. You just got to be something you're really cognizant of and aware of. But yeah, it's hot. Pop-up storms, humidity, sticky, sunscreen, all that stuff. Well,
I tip my hat to Pete Mena, the muskie guru, because he's the one that I saw his post, and it just reminded me, just kind of came flooding back with all the challenges that we face in really, really warm water. So what I did was I just shared his information about what scientists know about fish mortality and really warm water. And we're at a time of year. I mean, it's Steve B.A.S. told me this morning, Rainy River, Baudette, Minnesota, Canadian border, they had 82 degree surface temperatures. I mean, that's crazy warm, especially this early in July. I mean, it never gets that warm, much less in the early part of July.
I've been on the water every single day for the last, probably 9 days. We're on vacation here. We took a long extended vacation this year in central Minnesota, and I've seen everywhere from 79 degree water in certain lakes up to 86, and that's central Minnesota. And I really like to take pictures and video, and I do that with just about every time I go out. And when we went muskie fishing last week for 4 straight days in northern Minnesota, this is northeast of Walker even, and the water temps were peaking out at 80, 81 degrees, and Pete's right. That's the time you need to stop muskie fishing, because here's what I learned, and this is cool. We jumped in the water because it was so hot. This is how we kind of sustained ourselves. And that upper, let's just say 12 inches of water felt real warm, but then it got cold. And I mean, like a noticeable, right here down, it was substantially cooler. Now, for us, if that inside temperature is 71 to 75 degrees, we're pretty comfortable. But if you hit 80, think about how you feel in your house when it's 80 degrees. A fish is the same way, except their body adjusts to it a lot slower than we do. We sweat, they don't. But if you're pulling a very angry muskie through, I would guess that lower level of water is in the upper 60s, low 70s, and it comes up into that 80 plus, it shocks their system. And it's the same with bass, walleyes. Panfish are a little more resilient, but the bigger the fish, the harder it is for them to recover. And so Pete is absolutely onto something. Now, I'll be honest, we had those 4 days planned. We went and fished. We caught a couple fish, but they were not out of the net for more than 30 seconds. And both of them were fine. They swam off quickly. A lot of the fish care is how you're handling them in this heat. Nobody's saying don't go fishing. maybe for muskies, you think about not going, but go, but be real cautious in what you do with them.
There's no doubt. I mean, I think that there's a lot of us that have very limited amount of time to go fishing. So if you get that opportunity, you certainly want to go. It's a matter of being smart with the fish. You got to play them fast, or don't even take them out of the water, and just get them unhooked and released, and do the old hang over the gunnel photo in the lake shot. Because if you need to have a photo, that's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I cut hooks. I didn't even bother taking the hooks out of either one of those fish. We just cut them right away. Hooks are cheap, easy to replace. That was a much, I think, wiser thing than trying to mess with getting the hooks out. The more stress that you add, the higher rate the mortality could be. So be smart. But
one of the Great Lakes is
the same goes for us, for all of us watching and for us talking. If you're going to be on the water, you got to take care of yourself. It is so hot that you'll get dehydrated so quickly. I fish in long sleeves. I honestly don't do anything short sleeve anymore. I wear a buff. I've been trying to wear gloves. I don't wear them all the time. I should. I lost a lot of skin on my thumb there the last couple of days. But take care of yourselves too, or your kids, or your dog, or whatever.
You're begging for a lot of sympathy on this 9-day extended fishing vacation. Poor you, poor you. You got thumb issues, you got sun issues. Oh, Thomas, it's terrible.
Pontoon does an awful lot of sympathy.
My wife, we got here. My wife's like, the beard's got to go. I said, all right, it's too hot anyways.
Yeah, I was on Green Bay and Sturgeon Bay last weekend, and it was the same. I finally just shaved it off this week. I'm like, this is just wearing the buff and all that. It was just too much. Yeah. But last week we left Ocano, a little bit outside Ocano, and it was 82.5 degrees when we left. We had same kind of thing. We caught a fish, let it go. It kind of went belly up behind the boat as we were slowly trolling. We're like, uh-oh, we're about to turn around and go back and get it. Swam down. Next fish, caught it. Quick photo, but we had to lay it over the side of the boat with his nose in the current, upwind in the direction we're going for 30, 45 seconds before that thing had enough power to swim away. So I don't know how much it's affecting the fish. I feel like it has. The fishing hasn't been as good as I've seen it on Green Bay and some of the other lakes. And so I don't know what you guys feel about how it's really affecting fishing in general.
I think for myself personally, I've always seemed like when we get in these hotter stretches that the feeding times for these fish to kind of narrow a little bit. We get really narrow windows of fish activity. And it's interesting that Steve and Chad aren't here because are you guys following this story about the dude up on Lake of the Woods? This TJ Hardig or whatever his name was. Did you see this story?
No.
This guy, it's been on CBS News out of Minneapolis. It was just in Northland Outdoors. I think just put it out in a news piece here this morning as well. Guy's name's TJ Hardig. I don't even know where he's from, but he was out on Lake of the Woods, and in like a day and a half, he caught 60 walleyes all over 25 inches. And he claims to have caught like 150 to 175, just an exorbitant number of really big fish, everything over, in over the 20 plus inch mark. Just an incredible couple of days of fishing. And this is in this hot water. So I don't know what the whole story is. It's worth looking it up. CBS News Minneapolis they got a video story with the guy, but it's all jigging a frozen shiner. He must have got on top of the right school, and they were all absolute donkeys here. Just this is all less than a week ago.
And he's telling everybody about it.
That's the first thought I had too. Like, shut up, dude. Keep it to yourself.
No, but I think it's great because this is part of. With all these new people buying licenses and getting out fishing, and this guy's having some success. That's incredible success, and the fact that it made mainstream news in Minneapolis, I thought was a pretty big deal. I don't know how to verify his numbers or what the whole story is, other than I understand he's got a long list of photos on his Facebook page.
Does he have a guide service?
No, it was not. You certainly would think so, right? Oh, by the way, I quit my day job. Right.
Well, no, that's awesome. That to catch many fish, 60 of them over. I don't know what size you said, but that's pretty good.
They're all big. They're all like over 25 inches. They were all just massive fish.
I have found in this part of the country anyways, and even at home in Alabama, that sometimes a hot streak like this, if it doesn't last too long, really fires up the bite. Now I'm talking about largemouth specifically, but here in a lot of these lakes that I fish around here, the largemouth bite is out of control early in the morning and right before dark. And a couple nights ago, I went to a super duper top secret lake that I will not mention under any circumstances. And it was every other cast of fish was blowing up on a frog or a popper, and they were all big. I mean, several fish in the 4 to 5 pound range, and more threes than you can, shake a stick at. My fingers still hurt because of it. But I think probably what you're looking at there is those fish spend a lot of their high skies, high sun parts of the day down on a deep weed edge in the shadow. And I don't know if they're loafing. I don't think they're doing a lot of hunting or feeding at that point. Some might occasionally if something hits them on the head. But I think it's oppressive to us. It's oppressive to them in a similar fashion where they just aren't real active. But when that sun starts to go down or it's still kind of dark, like they move up onto the flats, bass fishing specifically, and they really seem to chow during those low light hours.
If you're just joining us, I'm just going to mention to everybody that's watching on Facebook right now, if you're just joining us, this is a deal we call Pontoon. We're just a group of friends here talking about everything going on in the world of fishing. We've got John Balla, walleye fishing guru in Chicago, Illinois, that has jumped on board. Senior editor from Bass Master Thomas Allen is joining us as well. Steve Panaz from Lake Commandos may join us here later. We're waiting to see if he checks in. But if as we're talking here, if anybody has any suggestions or wants to hear us comment on anything going on in the world of fishing, make sure you just add it to the comments down there at Facebook, or get a hold of us on our individual pages. We encourage you to follow us and send us suggestions or topics. It's just a random idea of something that we started doing during our shelter in place, and we've kind of carried it through the summer here. So it's been a lot of fun.
Speaking of that, it's probably a good time to ask Thomas about his brush with the old tornado up in Minnesota. I had heard about it on the news, and then, how ironic, when I checked today on social media, I see he's posting pictures of that very tornado that everyone's been talking about.
The funny thing is it's a good segue, is this heat we've been experiencing in the South where I live generally results in these pop-up storms at night. And we'd never really experienced that until we moved there. In fact, the day we unloaded the truck, there was just every afternoon ever since, like in the summer, we get these little small boomers that pop up, and it's like they're really isolated and very small, but they're typically very strong. And that happened here yesterday. I mean, and today it's still warm. I mean, I'm already glistening sitting on the porch here, but the weather was super sticky. The storm popped up out of nowhere, literally 5 miles from where I'm at here at the cabin. And my son and I were sitting on the porch right over here, just kind of messing around. The kids were running around, jumping in the water. And he goes, "Dad," and you can see like the sun behind it. So it's small, right? It's not a very big cell. He goes, "Dad, that looks like a wall cloud." And of course, he and I have watched every tornado video on YouTube. So we know what we're talking about. We're and I'm looking at this. I don't think so. He goes, "No, look close." And I stared at it. I'm looking exactly where I saw it yesterday on the other end of the lake, and it was spinning. And I got up. I thought, I'm going to drive up the hill because I got a spot 2 miles from here where I can see that whole area. So I literally got up to walk in the house to get my keys to go, and all of our phones started going off with tornado warnings. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I literally, let's see if I can get this up. I hopped in the truck, drove 2 miles, and I watched this thing from birth to death. This is when I first this was shortly after I got there. And there was hail. We had ping pong ball size hail. And this is at its biggest. And unfortunately, the sad part of this deal is it leveled 3 houses, and one individual was killed, which is a pretty sad deal. But to be there and witness this thing, and I've always been fascinated by storms, but this is the first one I got to chase a little bit and document. I wish I'd have had – this is asking for trouble, but I wished I was on the other side of the tornado and I could have put the drone up and get some drone pictures. But with my luck, it would have sucked my drone up and that would have been gone forever.
So which direction is this thing going then, Thomas?
Well, most tornadoes generally run in a northeast pattern. Not always. That's not a hard and fast rule, but I was northeast of this storm, and you can kind of see here, you can see the direction it's going. It was about to cross that road, and that's one of the last pictures I got of it there. And it literally, you see where the where the funnel goes up into the cloud, that's not far from me. That's probably half a mile. But at that point, I could see it was starting to lose power, and it disappeared at that point. But this is one of the most incredible things I've been able to witness. And they labeled it today an EF3 tornado. So
I think I saw that photo you got there looking down the road. I am pretty sure that's exactly the same scene I saw in that movie before they took the pickup truck with what was the name of the machine?
Dorothy, you're talking about Twister.
Twister.
Oh yeah, and the thing of it is, like, we were actually headed out to go fishing. I took a neighbor kid out. He's been a walleye guy his whole life and wanted to go bass fishing. And so we were like, well, I guess we're gonna wait a little while. And we went out and got on a lake. And I promise you, where this tornado is at right now is probably within a half mile of where we caught fish that night. It was probably right on the lake.
Wow.
So anyway, that was cool. Neat experience, and I certainly wouldn't recommend leaving your family at the family cabin to go chase a tornado. But if you're smart about it, and I talked to Catherine on the way. I said, "Look, it's not coming towards the cabin. You're fine." But she was
Were you able to roll your windows down and hear anything, or?
Yeah. So I had this is all with an open window, and I have so I filmed it too, and I've got about 20 minutes of footage that I just made live on my YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you want. I'll send the link to you guys and we can share it. But you're not real close enough to hear it with the phone, but I could hear it from 2 miles away. And it literally just, they all say it sounds like a freight train. Well, it does, even at a distance like that. So it was really an incredible thing.
Is that the closest you've ever been to a tornado? I've never been that close.
Well, probably that I know of. There's a time when my college roommate and I went fishing on Red Rock in Iowa, and we walked down the dam. If you've ever been on some of those big Iowa reservoirs, they're like a mile-long dam. So we walked down to the dam, got down on the rocks, and the storm was coming. It was coming, turning green, and he's like, "We should probably go." And by the time we climbed the mountain, it unleashed holy hell on us. We had to run all the way to the truck, and we got there soaking wet. And we got back to college, and everybody's not there. We're like, "Where's everybody?" Found out they were in storm shelters. A tornado had crossed less than a mile from the dam on Lake Red Rock. And me and Johnny were running across a dam, soaking wet, while a tornado was going on. So there you go.
Well, you live to tell about it. Wow.
Yeah, we are definitely in the heat of the summer. So switching up here, Thomas, you were supposed to be in New York right now, right? Or is that next?
Well, next week.
You would have headed there at the end of this week, though.
Well, we're on schedule with our vacation. The plan was I would get home. We'll be home on Sunday to Birmingham, and then I would have had to leave Monday morning to drive to Union Springs, New York, for the Cayuga Elite. And as we've all seen, there's been this resurgence in COVID cases, and New York has a list of I guess most hated, and Alabama is on the top of that list. So they were going to cancel us at first. And then they'd agreed to, there's a clause or an exemption for professional sports teams. And we were able to get in with that, and we're going to head to Cayuga. We were going to do that until, yesterday or the day before, Union Springs was unable to secure testing infrastructure and temporary facilities. The way it was going to go, we were all going to have to test every day, take our temperature every day. They were going to screen us. And that includes media and staff and the anglers. And ended up happening, Union Springs couldn't get it together in time, so they canceled Union Springs with an intention to reschedule another event somewhere else some other time this year. And at this point, the Elite Series is still on to hold the Waddington, St. Lawrence River, and the Champlain event at the end of this month. So people sound confident like that's going to happen because they already have the testing infrastructure in place. I'm a little skeptical. I'm not sure we'll make it, but time will tell. But yeah, it's been touch and go as of lately.
Fishing is just like the rest of these sports, right? I mean, we're just good. We make a plan. We're going to do our best to execute this plan, but there's a lot of variables that are out of everybody's control, and we just gotta make the best of it. So are they going to reschedule? They just cancel? What's the belief there?
Well, this is interesting, and I'm sort of excited about this to an extent. We'll probably reschedule for the fall, and normally, the fishing season's over, August, September for all of us. That's walleyes, bass, etc. But you know, there was a time when the Classic was in the fall, and there was a time when these tournaments went into the fall. So I believe we'll probably reschedule Cayuga for after Lake Fork, unless they're able to find something, and that's November, unless they're able to find a venue or a location that wants to have an elite event there in between now and then. September's wide open, but if you September in the South is real hot, so I don't think anybody really wants to do that. But I wouldn't be surprised if they do a late fall extension, and I think that would be great. It'd be very informative. It'd be entertaining. You can see the best bass anglers in the world ply some of the top bass lakes in the country in the fall when a lot of people are deer hunting. So it could be interesting.
So what's left on the schedule then? There's St. Lawrence River.
Then they go to Champlain.
Champlain.
After that, they're scheduled to go to St. Clair out of Detroit. After that, we come back south in October. We will go to Santee Cooper in South Carolina, and that's back-to-back with Chickamauga in Tennessee. So we would have those two back-to-back. We'd have another couple weeks off, and then at that point we would have finished the season on Lake Fork in November. But I think this Cayuga event might get pushed back later than that. Just to
is the Lake Fork, is that the AOI championship? Is that the schedule?
There's not an AOI championship this year.
Okay.
They decided to try something different, and I don't. Obviously, nobody knew that this COVID thing was happening, but now that we're here, everybody's kind of glad there's not another tournament in the mix. So they will just earn their AOI championship based on their standings at the last event.
Okay, so the whole full field will fish at Lake Fork.
Yes, and that'll be our Texas Fest. So that'll be a big deal to potentially end the season on. You know, they give away a Toyota Tundra and a classic berth, and everybody gets paid in that event. So that's pretty cool.
And that's a little bit different format, isn't it? Where you're only allowed to bring, everything's weighed on the boat, but you can bring one over a certain length.
They get to bring in a slot fish, John.
Right? Yeah, right.
A what fish?
A slot fish. We're going to correct that in a second. So yeah, it is. It's a catch, weigh, release format, and any fish over, I think it's over a 23 or something, they're able to bring one in if it's that big. That fish is given to the Texas Parks and Wildlife, and it's a part of the Share Lunker program. And so they're able to collect data, and what that's allowed the Department of the Parks and Wildlife there is they're able to better understand how trophy fish are grown and where they tend to live. So it's a cool way for us to exploit the lake, like Lake Fork, that doesn't necessarily allow the 5 fish in your live well, live weigh-in thing. We can go to a legendary giant fish producing lake, have an event there. The fish don't come in except for one big one if they get it. Anyways, and it goes to science. So that'll be a fun one. And
remind me again, all the contestants aren't aware what other contestants are catching because of the catch, weigh, release, are they? Or they have to wait till the final weigh-in time?
They have to wait. Yeah. I think that when Texas Fest, before Bassmaster owned it, it was where they were able to check we call it Bass Track, but where they were able to see where everyone was at. I think that they had that format then, but yeah, at our event, they won't know until the weigh-in.
That's right, because they want some people, if they bring a big fish across the stage, then they announce their weight. That's how they did it. I recall that now.
Yep.
Last year, yeah.
We'll see in the rest of the time.
But there's no planned spectators at the weigh-ins right now, or how is Bassmaster handling that?
Well, no, we have a set of guidelines that we're trying to adhere to with the anglers, and there has been, like, we discourage the gathering of crowds, but the thing is that Eufaula, they showed up in droves. There was a ton of people that came to that, and we don't have to get into everybody's opinion of this, but for the most part, I think Americans are ready to get back outside and do things. I think they see the writing on the wall, and I think the fan base is going to be there anyways. We could say don't come, but I don't think we can stop them. So I believe there will be some fans at some of these events, and frankly, I'm ready for that too.
Yeah, now Chip, isn't the MWT kind of thinking and kind of going a similar route, or has been looking at least what Bass Elites have been doing for some of their tournaments and such? Have you guys come up with a plan yet? I don't want to put you on the spot, but
there is a plan. There is a plan that obviously they're trying to, as we all are in this world, we're trying to figure out what this new model looks like. I think it's really important for the NWT we need to execute this event, get it off the ground, and make sure that we've got a fair and equitable tournament first and foremost, that's healthy for the anglers and does the best it can to protect the fish and the fishery. I do not believe that it's 100% final, but they've been looking at Bassmaster as well as a lot of other tournament circuits that are out there and how that's been executed. And that's my general belief of it, is that is probably the closest model that I can think of is what Bassmaster is doing right now. I do know that there will be no in-person rules meeting. That's going to be done all digitally. And I know that they are discouraging, as like Thomas was talking about, discouraging people to show up at the actual weigh-in, which is, for me that live off emotion and the moment and all of that, I don't know how that's all going to play out. I don't even know if we're going to be able to, I don't know if you're aware of this, but sometimes there's a little theatrics that takes place about who weighs last. There's all those uncertainties of how this is going to unfold. And frankly, I just want to get through an event. I want to get a shot for television, and I want the walleye world to push forward. And let's just get through this event, and hopefully it goes relatively smoothly. Here's the cool part about the NWT, not to get off subject at the moment here, but the initial run of signups, my understanding is it's unbelievable. I think we're already over 100 or at 100 pros. There's like 100. They had to cut off the co-angler wait list. It was like 120 people waiting for a pro partner. I mean, the interest in live tournament fishing is unprecedented. It's never been this strong. It's absolutely incredible. It's really fun to see.
Well, especially Green Bay. There's a lot of fishing freaks in Wisconsin, especially walleye fishing freaks in Wisconsin. And I'm going to try to take this moment and get on my soapbox a little bit. So to anybody that's a fan of National Walleye Tour and tournaments, please be patient. Please be understanding that this wasn't an easy thing to actually put together. I don't know what that's like to put one together, but I can kind of empathize with them in terms of the COVID and the different sites and the different rules each state has. So any helpful criticism is appreciated, but please understand that they're doing their best to even allow us a chance to fish. We don't need any bashing or criticism that's going to, maybe shy away some sponsors. So just, if you play nice, go behind the scenes if you got some constructive criticism. Just leave it off of social media. That's my comment.
And that's where, tournament director Anthony Wright's going to do everything he can to make sure that the fish go from the boat to the scale to the release tank as best as they possibly can, and that they're weighed appropriately, and we crown the right champion. That's ultimately number one concern outside of human health, right? That's it. What's obvious, which none of us are talking about at the moment, is where this is all going. Anytime tournament fishing is changing, and we're watching it change in front of us. Nowhere at any other time in history have we watched the playing field literally evolve and change as quickly as it is right now. Where it's going, nobody really knows. So you've got to be a little bit lenient. One, make sure that it's fair, but two, be open-minded and flexible, and know that we haven't got to where we're going. We're in the process of changing, so we've got to be flexible.
To echo what John's saying, of course you're going to have internet tough guys everywhere. I don't know that you're going to call them off, John. I wish we could. I wish there was a way we could just back them off. But the reality is this is people's livelihoods. I know it's Chip. It's part of your job. It's part of how you support your family. John, it has to do with that for you. It has to do that, with that for me. The whole thing is everybody wants this to happen, but it has to be done in a way that makes sense. It has to be done in a way that, it fits the comfort level of everybody as we're dealing with this rotten situation out there. And I think that the increase in participation or activity is just simply people are tired of being cooped up. They want to get out, and maybe something like the lock-in, the COVID thing, the Rona has forced people to, I guess, take the steps to do what they want to do. Like for so long, maybe they were putting off being a walleye angler, or they were putting off being a co-angler, whatever the deal was. Now they're like, hey, kind of like we're getting a second chance to go do some of the things we want to do, and that's why they're going. But John is 100% right. People need to lighten up, let things happen, because everybody involved, we all want the exact same thing across the board. It's just there's a lot of red tape that you have to deal with to get these things to go.
Good news is
go ahead. Fishing tournaments to me has always been a privilege, not a right. And there's a lot that goes behind the scenes that it takes to put one on. And I've never, ever felt it was a very good idea to bash those that are trying to give us the privilege to put up some money, to catch some fish, to make some money, and to get some sponsorships for ourselves, but also to promote products. It's a win-win situation if we're supporting each other and not bashing those that are giving us a chance to do it. That's always been my thought, and I'm going to stick with it. It's always been a privilege, not a right.
Yep, you're 100% right. Couldn't disagree.
So the good news is, just like less than an hour ago, I just saw a post on social media where the MWC is thumbs up and moving forward for Lake Huron. So that I do not know the intricacies of that, but it sounds like it was hung up somewhere with whether it was COVID related or permit related, or they were hung up on something. But I just saw here, looking down at my phone, that is up and moving. So that's awesome news there. We got another tournament to fish.
You know, I will say this along those.
I think that's this weekend. It's like the 17th, 18th, right?
I don't know.
Next weekend.
Next weekend. I know there's 2 one-day AIM tournaments on Green Bay next weekend. Walleye team events. One day Saturday and one day Sunday, and then the following Thursday and Friday is the National Walleye Tour. I'm not sure when that MWC one is. Oh, you know what? MWC might be Sakakawea right now. Isn't that going on, or was that last week? I don't know.
Somebody knows, and they'll post it and remind us that we don't know what we're talking about. So that's always encouraging. It's hard to keep all the schedules straight. That part I know for sure. But I'm just excited that things are moving forward. We got a season. We're going to kick things off. We can talk more about what we think is going to happen here next this next NWT. We can come around full circle on that maybe next week or what have you. But it's going to be a fun event. John, you were up there. So I need to know, are you going to fish this thing or not fish this thing, or where are you? You've made it.
I'm not in.
Okay, very good.
I'm not in. I didn't get a boat yet, so we're gonna have to try and still work on that. And I don't want to borrow one. I don't want to be a guy that borrows a boat. It's not a professional thing to do for me to borrow a boat before fishing an event. So until I get my own boat, I won't be doing it.
Thomas, what's coming up on your docket?
Well, we've got a lot of tournaments coming up, but as far as attending those, it's obviously up in the air. I still think that New York, I think it's going to happen the second 2 events, but it really wouldn't surprise me either if those 2 got rescheduled. But the season will go on to some level. It's something I kind of wanted to circle back and comment on. We are we're pretty close to the projections of the coronavirus situation. I know we're all tired of it, and we get these little hints or allegations that, hey, it's starting to subside here, or it's rising again over here. We heard back in February, March, it would probably be August, September until we started to see some semblance of normalcy again. And it could be even into October. So while we're not there yet, I know we're all tired of it, we're all ready for it to stop. I think that we'll get there. And I think that fishing is going to go on, lives are going to go on, but we are still navigating some different times right now. So people are out fishing, and I've been here for the past, week and a half. This lake on the 4th of July, it's not a very big lake, 500-600 acres, maybe a little more. There were more vehicles and boats on this lake fishing and just being outside than I've ever seen in the 20 years I've been coming here. People are outside right now. And I think if there's one silver lining to this whole situation, is that people are investing in getting outside, and that is good for all of us.
Am I going to see you next week? Or I guess it's 2 weeks, John?
Yeah, I'll be up there. I'm going to go up this weekend, and I'm going back up on, I think, the following Sunday. My niece is getting married a week from Saturday at a social distance kind of wedding thing, just immediate family with a few of us kind of standing around. I don't know if there'll be some sort of sticker that I got to stand on, but at least it's going to be local.
I want to know that if they put arrows on the aisle, right? When they go down the aisle,
yeah,
Does the groom have a backwards arrow just in case?
Exactly. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how that goes. So, and I think it's outdoors. So with kind of a fallback like canopy or some sort of tent or something they've got built on this. It's like an old barn site, I think, or something like that. But so I've got that, and then I'll be out there probably on that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, if not Wednesday, that week of the event for sure.
Very good. Well, I look forward to seeing you there. I'm going to do a quick little personal plug here. Dropping on Monday. This week I dropped a great podcast with James Linder. Monday, elite angler Jeff Gussie Gustafson. I've got a podcast with him and his sister Kate Gustafson, whom you probably don't know who she is, but she's a world-class long distance runner. Absolutely an incredible woman who went from an elite level hockey career, a D1 women's program hockey career, to just decided to become a runner and took it all the way to the fastest Canadian woman at the Boston Marathon just a few years ago. This woman is, what I love about this podcast that's coming out next week is this parallel thinking towards elitism, right? No matter what you do, where you go, both Jeff and Kate have the same mindset about attacking life and whatever your personal goals are. It's a really, really cool podcast that comes out here next week.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, if you're out and about, get to chipleer.com, sign up for the newsletter, get one sent to you. I'd love to have you listen to that as well. Other than that, maybe we'll see Steve B.A.S. Maybe he should call this TJ Harding if he's still up on Lake of the Woods and can't get bit to finish his Lake Commandos program. You get picked on if you're not here, because this guy obviously got some fish in the boat. I don't know what he's fishing for or what his challenges are. I just know he couldn't get here today. Anybody else got anything to add?
I'll plug my tornado video. I mean, that's on my YouTube channel now. It's Outdoor Pursuits. You can see that, along with many other things. This week I got a lot of great footage, and I'll be working on. I've got 4 or 5 bass fishing videos that will go up over the next month and a half. I did catch a 46.5-inch muskie up north when we were fishing up near Walker, and we had managed to get that whole thing on video. There's 2 or 3 different camera angles, so we got lucky with that. So it's actually my first muskie video. I've never caught a muskie on video. So Outdoor Pursuits. Please check it out.
How does this work? So you're on vacation, but you're compiling all this media because that's what you do, right? So is it really work? Or is it really vacation? Or is this just a way to write off a trip?
Well, I mean, we have other ways to write off the trip, but I don't. It's funny you say that. I guess if I've said this in this show the first time, then I'm repeating myself. But a long time ago, my dad just didn't believe me when I was telling him the stories about the fish I caught. And there were probably times I was exaggerating. Not going to put myself above that. But I started taking a lot of pictures just to prove it to him. And I would remember the disposable wind-up Kodak cameras. I took like a package of those because I'd fill up 2 and 3 cameras when I'd go fishing. Well, of course, I got tired of it. You can't take I think I took selfies back then, right, in the 90s. So, and just to take that up a tick, I started filming. And honestly, that's how I got in the outdoor industry. Is I started filming deer hunts. And the funny thing is everybody wants to be filmed, but nobody wants to do the filming. So I found a way to pursue my dream of working in the outdoors as being a cameraman. And it's a passion. I love to film what I'm doing, and I enjoy sharing my experiences with people. And I'll be honest, like my YouTube channel is unique in that I don't edit it for anybody but me. I have enough. You want to hear something cool? I monetized my YouTube channel this year, and I have a whopping $14.72 in my account at YouTube.
Wow.
We're really going places now, people. Hang on.
That's $2 more than Chip and I have, so that's good.
I can buy half a muskie lure with that, I think. Maybe a new leader. But the thing of it is I just do it for fun. And I think that authenticity has actually garnered some support on that channel. And I'm happy to do that. And I've done a couple weather videos in the past. And so I might just start adding storm chasing to that list. Who knows?
You got some good footage to start with that storm. And I did see the muskie video. It's awesome.
Well,
I do recommend anybody go check it out. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Very good. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks for the trip on the pontoon, and we will check in again later soon. Bye, y'all.
See you guys. See ya.